Today we're going to be talking about Mod Roc, or as it's also known, Paris bandaging. Now, Mod Roc is a material that's used for crafting, casting and modelling, and we're going to be using it to help cast a face mask. Mod Roc finds its origins within the medicinal field, where it was used as a plaster or bandaging material. Later it entered the arts and design industry due to how versatile it is when used for modelling. The material is incredibly easy to use, it can be layered to create a really tough outer shell, and it can remain relatively lightweight, making it perfect for use in sculpture or in theatre. So let's talk about how we actually use this stuff and how it is used to create a model.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to unroll some of the Mod Roc and we're going to start by cutting it into 1-inch rectangular strips. Now, one thing that you'll note very quickly is that I'm doing this in a contained space. I'm using a rectangular box to keep this inside of, because doing this is incredibly messy. As you start manipulating or cutting the Mod Roc, the plaster will start to drop off. So having this in a location where you can easily clear it away afterwards will make your life much easier. Start by cutting a few rows of this, just get a few pieces together for what we're going to do initially to help us form a base layer on the face mask that we're going to be using.
Okay, the way to have the most success with this material is to build it up in layers. That's how you get that tough outer shell, and that's how you get it to be a bit more versatile. Our ending outcome that we're looking at is having multiple layers built up onto a mask or a face or a helmet design, which, as you can hear, is really tough and durable, because there's probably about 4 or 5 layers of Mod Roc that's been built up on top of this. Now, if we're starting off, we're just going to be using one of these cast designs, which usually come in packs of 10 or 20, and this is going to be the shape that we start with building on top of. Now, the initial stages of this are really, like I just said, to build up multiple layers. So let's see how we go from this to this. Okay, first steps now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start taking the strips that I've cut, I'm going to dip them into the water, I'm going to wipe off some of the excess of water, not too much, and then I'm going to smooth it down onto the mask design. Now, I'm going to get a little bit of water on my finger, and I'm going to start smoothing this out until it loses. You'll notice if I pull this piece up here, hopefully you can get a bit of focus on there, you'll notice that gauze pattern, okay? When I smooth it down on my mask, you notice that gauze pattern has gone as it started to have been blended in with the area around it. That's because the plaster is starting to now attach to the design itself. The plaster is kind of joining together, okay? So that's really what you want to be the case with the design that you're doing. First thing I'm going to do is to just slowly start building up a single layer around all of the design that I want to include as part of this. Then from there, what I can do is wait for it to dry, and I can start doubling up or creating multiple layers. Now, the pieces that I have cut for this are probably a little bit small, and what you can always do is start to make them a little bit bigger as you build up layer from layer. What I would suggest doing though is trying to avoid having too small pieces, pieces which are too big, just because you want the pieces to be quite small, you want them to have multiple points of contact with many other pieces of the Mod Roc, because this will ultimately make them stronger. If you just have 4 very large pieces joined together and smoothed down, and one of the pieces hasn't properly attached to any of the others, then what you're going to get is a bit of a domino effect as that one falls off and then takes the other pieces with it, or at least takes some of that structural integrity of the design with it. We will look a little bit more next at the idea of building designs on top of this after we have our first base layer of our mask done. So good luck getting yours finished, and I'll see you next time.